Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. My name is Erica. Today is launch day for my new limoncello quilt. One thing I love about summer is just fresh, fruity drinks, homemade iced sun teas, lemon limeade, and just a nice, cool, refreshing drink at the end of a long, hot summer day. And that's the vibe I was going for with my new limoncello quilt. This cute quilt features fruity lemon and orange blocks. I thought just the contrast between the yellow and orange would be really cute. And then it also has mason jar inspired lemonade blocks. We'll take a closer look at this quilt in just a second, but it is the one right here behind me. The quilt itself finishes at 65 by 80. That includes the borders. So you could alter that size a little bit if you didn't want to add those borders. And then it is fat quarter and yardage friendly. I used some leftover fabrics from my Harvest collection from last year, along with a few quilts from my Bloom collection, which was my first collection, my So Quilty collection, which I released earlier this year, and then a few also from my Harvest collection, actually. That's where the aquas came from in this quilt. And I love the contrast of the aquas, the oranges, and the yellows together. I think it just makes this quilt feel nice and fresh and fun. For the background fabric, instead of using just a plain solid white, which you absolutely could do, I used the background fabric from my Harvest collection last year. It's just a creamy background with little tiny tan dots on it. So a nice low volume. It lets your blocks still stand out and shine, but it still has that cozy feel you get from using a low volume fabric. Let's take a closer look at the blocks. So like I mentioned, we have a fruity block. This one has two-toned lemons and oranges in it hanging from a little vine. And this block actually reminds me of a tree that my grandpa had in his backyard when I was growing up, and I can't remember what they called it. It was basically just a citrus tree, but it was actually a mix of oranges and lemons. So they actually looked like lemons, but they had a little bit of a sweetness to them, so they weren't quite as tangy or sour as a regular lemon. And it was a really pretty tree that they had in their yard. They lived in Arizona, and so that was the inspiration for the fruit block for this quilt. I thought it was really cute. And then I did make the lemons and oranges two-toned. I thought that would give them a little bit of a scrappy feel, and it also allowed me to use up some of the fabrics in my stash. For the alternating block, I did these cute little mason jar drinks. I love drinking out of mason jars. We have a ton of them around our house. Some have little handles like in this quilt block. Most of them are just the regular mason jars though, and there is nothing better than a mason jar filled with ice and some sort of nice iced tea or a limeade or a lemonade at the end of your day. It's just so cool and refreshing in the summer, and so that was a vibe I was going for. So you'll see in this block, my little mason jar has a little handle on it, and then it also has a little mint sprig at the top along with a cute straw. And the great thing about both of these blocks is you can make them really scrappy. None of them have to match. I would just suggest kind of color coordinating. So as you'll see, all of my mason jars are that aqua, and then all of my fruits are the yellow with the orange. But you can use a variety of different prints. Each one can be different, and then you can have a really cute scrappy summer quilt that way. And then I just alternated the placements of those blocks to make a really cute layout. The other thing I added was this cute sashing. I love doing this type of sashing and cornerstones on a quilt. I think it really just frames each block, lets them shine, but it also gives your eye a place to go in between the blocks. And I really love the 9-patch cornerstones on this. I think it gives it almost a little bit of a gingham feel, which to me is always really summery and fresh. The other thing I added to the outside of this quilt were borders. Now you might notice that my outer border outside all of my center quilt is actually a different fabric than my background fabric. In the quilt pattern, it's listed as your background fabric, but I actually didn't have enough of this. I literally used every last scrap of that background fabric. So I just pulled a different one from my stash. This one was from my Heartland collection that just released, and it's just a creamy background with little denim dots on it. And I thought it actually kind of gave it a little bit of something extra, and the denim matched my 9 patches. So it sort of brought all of that together, I feel like. And then I did add a green gingham skinny border and then a wider outer border. Now, we were going back and forth with my family. I always am asking their opinions when I'm doing quilts, like which one do you like better, this or this? And the border that I chose matches my quilt really, really well. But if you look really closely, it's actually from my harvest collection from last year. So instead of oranges on there, they're actually little pumpkins. And I went back and forth thinking, well, pumpkins technically are fruit, they have seeds. And so I did look that up, by the way. So you're welcome to leave a comment on that. But I did look it up, and pumpkins technically are in the fruit family because they have seeds. So I thought, well, I've got my fruit blocks, and pumpkins technically are fruit, and it matches so well. So I did go ahead and use my pumpkin border, and it's just a large floral print with little pumpkins popping out here and there. So the colors matched really well, but the theme didn't match quite as well. But you know what? I said, you know what? This is my own quilt. It matches. It looks cute. I'm going to use it. So I did use my harvest print for that outer border. And as like I said, as long as you don't look too closely, you don't notice that they're pumpkins. They just look like little oranges sprinkled around the outside edge. For the binding, I initially planned on using an aqua print, and I think that still would look really cute. But then when I was auditioning fabrics for my binding, I ended up going with an orange just to bring out the orange in the oranges in the block as well. I hadn't used that color too much. It's in the straws and the oranges, and so I thought having it out on that outer border would look really good. And then for the backing on this quilt, I did something that I haven't done, is a all over gingham backing. So this gingham is actually the denim gingham that came with my So Quilty line. It's also great having a darker backing on the back of your quilt if you're going to lay it out on the grass for picnics, or you know, maybe outside on a porch swing or something like that. It doesn't get quite as dirty, and so I love having that gingham on the back. Now when I went to label this quilt, I just didn't have anything in my stash that really was jumping out at me and saying, yes, this is perfect for this quilt. So I did end up just putting one of my smaller labels that attach into the binding. It's one of my labels from Ever Emblem. You've seen them here before. I always use them on my smaller projects like my table toppers or my pillows or my little wall minis or anything like that. I like to put a label on, and so that's just the label that I ended up using for this quilt. It was really fast to just pop that into my binding as I was finishing up the quilt, but I think it's really cute, and you don't have to do some major label on the backs of all your quilts. Just a tiny little one that you stick in your binding is totally fine. Now a lot of you had asked me to talk a little bit more about the quilting that I do on this. So I do have my own long arm in the basement. It is a put together used long arm. I found the frame on Facebook for like $25 during 2020, which was awesome. And then I actually purchased my Juki TLQVP 2200, I think is what it is, and I purchased that used from a friend, and it's actually been a great little machine. It has its quirks, and it's older. It doesn't have the computerized things where you can just put in a design and let it just run on its own. So everything I'm doing is just hand doing. I just, kind of go for it. So I thought I would share a little bit of my process, and then I'll show you some close-ups of the quilt. For this quilt, I thought it would be fun to try and do maybe the lemons or the oranges, something fruity on it. And so I ended up doing a couple different sketches on paper first, which is always what I do, just to see what I actually can physically get my brain to comprehend, where you can draw the design and then keep going and draw another design. And that's really all that matters. As long as I can get that design done, get out of there, do another one, and not get myself stuck, that's what I'm looking for when I'm doing quilting designs. So I ended up doing swirls, which are always an easy filler for me. I'm really comfortable with those. And also the swirls kind of give it a little bit of movement and texture. And then in between the swirls, I decided to do little lemons. Now my lemons aren't perfect. Each one is a different shape, and I did do a little bit of experimenting with them as well. My first lemons, I was kind of making almost an oblong shape that came to a point and then back up, and then I did just one little leaf and came back out, did a few swirls, and did another one of those lemons. A couple of the lemons I tried to come down with that oblong shape and then not come to a point, but just maybe do like a little rounded tip. Those probably are more accurate for what a lemon actually looks like. However, they were really hard for me to organize in my brain for some reason, and they ended up looking a little bit wonky. So I do have a few lemons on here that look not so lemony. So I actually ended up sticking with the oblong shape, kind of coming to a point where I tried to make it a little bit of a rounded point and then back up, did a leaf, came back out, did some swirls, and then went into another lemon. And that design is really, really easy to do. It's easy to get into, it's easy to get out of. You can make your lemons go all different directions based on which area you need to fill in your quilt. That's also a great design thing to look at when you're looking at what pattern you want to do, is can I make these go different directions? And one thing that's great to do is to do that on paper first. So I'll just take a piece of paper, I use my pen, I hold my pen straight up and down, and then I just do the design, and I try and make sure I can get in there, get my design done, get out, do another one, maybe do another one in upside down, do another one to the right, to the left, and just make sure I'm comfortable making those designs going all different directions. That way when I'm quilting my quilt, it's really easy for me to fill those areas. And if I get lost or I don't think I can do it, I'll just throw a swirl in there and get to a point where I feel like more comfortable about doing it. And you just kind of get into a rhythm with those designs. None of them are perfect. None of them are, exactly the same. And it's okay. When you're done with your quilt and you get it washed, it's all crinkly and cozy. People aren't going to notice that your lemons aren't all the same, and they're also not really going to care. It's probably only something that you're going to care about. And just like anything else, the more you do it, the better you'll get at it. And so I feel like each time I do a quilt, I either come up with maybe a new design that's now in my arsenal, in my brain, that I can use on future quilts, or I'm doing one that I'm familiar with, and it just gets better and better each time I do it. So have a lot of fun with your quilting. I really encourage you guys to quilt your own quilts. I enjoy that process, and I love knowing that I've made my quilt from start to finish. All right, so I think that's all the details for my limoncello quilt. I do not have a fabric launch for this. Like I said, I used all scraps from my current stash, which is one of the things that I'm also trying to work on this year. You can get this pattern in both PDF and print format in my store. I will link it below. And you can also just go to my store and type in limoncello and you'll find it there. And fun fact, it is spelled Limoncello. We had some discrepancies on what we thought it was spelled like, and so we did a lot of Googling, and that was a common spelling for limoncello. And I think I'm saying it right. I don't think it's limoncello. I think it's limoncello? Limoncello? I'm not sure. Let me know in the comments if it's more of a lemon or a lemon. Either way, hopefully you enjoy this quilt. I think it's super cute, super fun, fresh summer vibes, perfect for picnics, throwing on your front porch swing, or just decorating your home with for the summer. Thanks so much for joining me for today's video. And if you made it this far, comment limoncello down below this video. I'm going to be picking a winner to receive a free pattern. If you've already purchased the pattern, I'll either credit you with a different pattern or just refund your money. So that's going to be it for today's video. Thank you so much for joining me. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you enjoy limoncello. I hope you enjoyed today's video, and I will see you in the next one. Lemon limes, what else? And what else is thrown in there? Oh, and the great thing about these blocks, and then this 3-row striped sashing helps also and then the 3-row, I think it's limoncello, my So Quilty line. However, they were really hard for me to, limoncello.